Well, Mr. Mike Ejiofor joins us now. He's the former director of SSS. As we welcome you back to Sunrise Daily. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Well, we're just trying to take a look at some developments with security in the country. Of course, we do know how very, very important it is for us to ensure that things just go right, especially not just this year as we approach next year, but unfortunately we see some scenario in Plateau. In fact, we also saw some fresh attack with Boko Haram after the Chief of Defense Staff's comments, and some people thought, oh dear, wait a minute. So that confused a lot of people concerning where we actually are. In fact, the successes recorded may have been lost in some people, but give us your assessments. Having seen us move from last year, how we performed, to this year, especially as we approach elections. Where are we in all of this? Are we making progress still?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would say that so far we've been very, very nice. We're making progress. If you look at 2013, for instance, we made a lot of progress in terms of security. You can see that the issue of Boko Haram is now restricted to Borno in particular, and occasional splashes in Yobe and some part of the northeast. Unlike what we had 2011, 2012, where it was bombing everywhere. You had in Kaduna, you had Kano. It was all over. Even in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. But I think we've made a substantial progress in 2013. But we will still have to get some spillover from 2013 to 2014, because 2014 is very, very critical. The greatest challenge we are going to face in 2014 is on the political front because of preparations for the general elections. And I'll concentrate more on the political threats, because you can see, if you look at the governorship election coming up in Osun and Ekiti states, the outcome of that election, of those two elections, is going to be very, very critical to the general election coming up in 2015.
Any indication of any signs that we should be worried about those two elections, for instance?
Yeah, we should worry, as a matter of fact. Let's face it realistically, because you've seen what is going on between the PDP. PDP had its own crisis which led to the pulling out of 5 governors, defection of 5 governors, and some members of the National Assembly. The PDP has been in power since 1999. So they want to assert their influence in those 2 states by capturing those states. And the APC is a new opposition party that will not also let go like that. So there are a lot of developments. We are definitely going to see a lot of defections from PDP to APC, APC to PDP. PDP, like I said, has been in power since 2014. But to me,
since
PDP, yes, 1999, sorry. You see, PDP to Nigerians is just like what the Catholic Church is to the Christendom.
For some people.
For a lot of people, for a lot of Nigerians. The reasons are obvious. First, you see, we're talking of, in the Christian faith, we talk of a lot of new generation churches talk of prosperity, while the ultimate should have been salvation. So people will move out in search of prosperity from PDP. After wandering, they'll come back. They still go back and come back. You see people changing. It's healthy for democracy. But my worry is the utterances being made by some elders that will now tend to compound our already existing security problem. We have the Boko Haram issue that is being managed, but politically, if we don't moderate our utterances, it's going to create a lot of problems. We should be looking at our elder statesmen who should guide us, but they are the people making provocative statements that will now tend to generate a lot of conflict polity. So I use this opportunity to appeal to them to moderate their utterances.
By now, Mr. Ejiofor, I'm sorry to cut in there. One would have thought by now we should have done away with appeals to people who try to place the country in jeopardy. Over time, we've always talked about appealing to people, and it seemed to me that that is almost playing the ostrich. Why don't we take it headlong? If we have a system and we have laws guiding us as a people, once those laws are flouted, well, those people should be brought to the book. Except you're saying that those you have called elders or elder statesmen are immune to our laws.
And it's not that they are immune to our laws. The fact remains that our democracy is evolving. I look at 1999 to 2007 as a transition period. It was still kind of military/civilian dictatorship. But when President Haram came in, you see, he came in to at least moderate, show us a semblance of what democracy is all about, which the present government is doing. You make any arrest. You see, the State Security Service, for instance, made an arrest of Ejiofor for making some utterances. A lot of people went sick. That shouldn't have been. The other people have made some statements. You remember one of our political leaders talked about that if elections of 2015 is rigged, the blood of bulls and dogs will flow. All those kind of statements. So if you take on such people, there's bound to be some serious reaction. But I think we should be managing our affairs. The government should be commended for the tolerance of opposition. Opposition is healthy, but it must be constructive.
When you say tolerance, I mean, what are they supposed to do? Muzzle opposition? Everybody's got freedom of expression.
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making, that the government is very tolerant of opposition, and it is helping in developing our democracy. Unlike what you used to have before, that we don't talk about anything. The media, for instance, I'm not saying this because I'm in channels. Channels are electronic media. Some of our print media, they are part of the problems we are facing in our security challenges.
Oh.
I was going through the paper this morning, for instance, and I had one of the, let me not mention the artists, Odra Bars state security operatives from the airports, and I looked at the story. The reporter did not speak to the minister. He did not speak to the State Security Service. He did not speak to any of the aviation officials, and he so stated it that he did not speak to it. But if you look at the reactions that followed that story, you can just go through it and see how people can generate a lot of friction where there is none. But the fact remains that Nigeria is moving and evolving. What actually happened is that, because I was very, very upset when I read that story this morning. What happened is that, you see, the processes are being automated in line with best practices all over the world. You don't need to see security men everywhere. You travel abroad, you see maybe one immigration officer, and all the data are fed into computers, so that you don't need to have physical contact. But the intent of that story, if you don't look at it, I mean, we should be very serious in our reporting. Let our media play down on some of these security.
I think on that kind of story, the first question I'll ask you is, if it had been couched any differently, do you think that it would have caught your attention? Because I'm sure one of the reasons why I caught your attention was how it was couched. How has the SSS been barred from the airport? And then you flip to the story and then you get to know what exactly is happening. I'm not making excuses, but I'm just wondering if your attention would have been caught if they say something like automated systems introduced in airports or something.
I would have thought, in proper investigative journalism, that story should have been kept until you have a comment from any of the officials.
But you were able to get from the story that, the processes were just being automated.
No, it's not there.
Oh, it's not there?
It's not there.
What was in the story then?
The story is that all the Abbas SSS operatives...
That's the headline.
That's the headline.
Did you see the story?
I read the story. And the story says that SSS operatives have been barred from the airport. He made contact to the aviation minister. Nobody spoke to. He spoke to the special advisor. The phone didn't go through. He spoke to Marilyn Oga. The phone didn't go through. A text was sent. No reply. That was it.